Hey guys, welcome to Boxing Squared for boxing news and views from around the internet. Rising heavyweight contender Adam Kownacki is the latest top contender to draw interest and offers from the likes of DAZN and ESPN. He is currently with PBC. He is advised by Al Heyman, who has content arrangements with Fox and Showtime. So Kownacki is currently 19-0. He is regarded widely as a top 10 talent, so he's somewhere towards the back end of the top 10 or just outside on many people's boards when they do their heavyweight rankings. So his manager believes he's a top 5 guy. I think that's a bit of a stretch, but we'll get to his comments because Boxing Scene has reported some very interesting comments which I want to get to, and then some thoughts, because there is a bit of an arms race in the heavyweight division at the moment. There's a lot of interest in signing top heavyweights. I would describe it more as, at the moment, a bit of a seller's market, with ESPN really putting a focus on getting top heavyweight talent, having secured Tyson Fury and Kubrat Pulev. It seems to be there's more competition now and more interest to lock some of these guys up as these different sort of broadcasters and streaming services look to solidify their place in the market, in particular what they're doing in the heavyweight division in the United States. Until now, in recent years, PBC has been sort of head and shoulders above, sort of cornering the heavyweight division in the United States. It's got about a dozen fighters, heavyweight fighters, on its books, including the likes of Deontay Wilder, Charles Martin, Luis Ortiz, F.A.R. Jagba, Joe Joyce, Travis Kaufman, Adam Kownacki, and there's more. So there's a number of guys, a number of the sort of top American talent that has been fighting in the PBC stable. But now with ESPN making moves and DAZN also looking to sign fighters, they have Jarrell Miller at the moment and Nkosi Solomon, but he's a bit of a non-factor at the moment. They're looking to add to their stable of heavyweight fighters. They've put an offer out to Deontay Wilder. They want to meet with him, get him into the tent, so we will see where things go. And I said recently, with all that's going on, who's next? Because with the seller's market at the moment, a number of guys who are up on deals will be looking around very carefully going, what can I do for myself? What is the best deal that I can get for myself? So Adam Kownacki's manager, Keith Connolly, he said to Boxing Scene, well, declining to discuss specifics on the offers that he's fielded regarding Kownacki, that promoters have been reaching out about Adam. Al Heyman and I will be meeting this week to finalise his next date, which I expect to be in May or June. We will also discuss which channel or platform is the most lucrative for Adam going forward. It's a great time to be a boxer. There has never been this much money and opportunity in the sport. Adam, in my opinion, is a top 5 heavyweight. He's looking to take advantage of that and hopefully fight for a title in the next year or so. And that's pretty much the sum total of the comments from Keith Connolly, Adam Kownacki's manager. And he's right there. There never has been, or at least in recent years, in the United States, in the heavyweight division, as much interest in money. At the moment, people are reaching out, trying to sign fighters, because if they're trying to build up their stable, the fights at heavyweight that they can put on, there's going to be some money to be had for these top guys. We've already seen it. Kubrat Pulev has signed on with ESPN. Tyson Fury on a lucrative deal, which in the life of the deal, if he meets all the milestones and has all the expected fights, could earn him upwards of $100 million. It remains to be seen though. Also, ESPN has been in talks and reportedly close to signing Dillian Whyte. So you imagine if they can get Whyte and they can also get Kownacki into the tent, they start to have a pretty strong looking heavyweight stable. They would have 4 of the top 10 or so guys in the heavyweight division. Adam Kownacki is pretty well ranked across a number of sanctioning bodies, particularly in the WBC. He's one of the guys that in the next sort of year or so likely to get a title shot come his way in the WBC. But obviously some of that could be dependent. Who is he with? Because if Deontay Wilder stays with PBC, for example, and fights on Showtime or Fox, they may not look at Kownacki if he's in the ESPN tent unless it was a mandatory challenge. So, there is a bit of rub to this, because what will end up happening to some extent, and I touched on this in some greater detail in a recent Patreon video, is that you're going to have this heavyweight arms race, and it's kind of going to build these three different distinctive silos. And these silos, reach across not only the heavyweight division, but also across countries with the UK and the US. So you've got BT Sport in the UK with ESPN for that Tyson Fury deal, and likely for other related cards. They have some form of content deal already in place, and I see that MTK Global has also agreed some form of deal with ESPN. That was just announced a day or so ago. And then you have PBC and Fox, and there's the deal in place in the UK with ITV. So you will see more content from them in the UK on that network, ITV. And then obviously with Matchroom in the UK and Matchroom USA, which will be featuring on DAZN, the streaming service, and in Sky in the UK. So the lines are becoming increasingly clear and drawn about what's going to happen and how it will play out wherever you sign. So a lot of these promoters and broadcasters are becoming quite entrenched with what they're going to do. And ultimately, some fighters may not appear on certain other networks because they have exclusive arrangements with, say for an example, ESPN or, with Showtime or Fox or whatever. But the rub there is, because there's this increasing competition, is money. And that's what Keith Connolly alluded to, that there's never been, as much money and opportunity in the sport, that it's a great time to be a boxer. And if we try to just look at this objectively for a minute in the case of Kownacki, obviously he's currently an Al Haymon fighter with PBC. He's been fighting on Fox or Showtime, that sort of stuff. So if he was to stay put, he's obviously got an opportunity potentially in the next year to fight for the WBC World Heavyweight title. Deontay Wilder would have to retain the belt in that scenario, but regardless, he could work himself into a mandatory position at some point in the next year or two. But that will also extend to elsewhere, if he moves elsewhere. But potentially what he could be doing is he may have no intention of leaving his current situation. He may just use this extra interest to drive up his current price and what he's getting for his fights and whatever contract he signs to be in the PBC tent. But if he goes to ESPN, it would be a very good signing, because Kownacki has a very fan-friendly style. As we saw against Gerald Washington, he threw about 156 punches in about 5 minutes of fighting. He was actually really sort of letting those hands go in that brief fight against Gerald Washington, and he knocked him out in the second round. Very good performance, and he's had a number of very good performances in the past year or two. The Charles Martin one, that was a real war. Also, the one against Artis Bilka knocked him out in about 4 or 5 rounds. That was another good performance. He also KO'd Iago Kaladze, another good performance. So Adam Kownacki, if he keeps fighting the way he is, and there's no reason to expect that he wouldn't, you know what you're going to get with him, and you can probably match him in some fights where he's going to look good. And there'd be a lot of styles that you can put him in with, and he's going to have the opportunity to look good. Obviously, certain guys, if you put him in with a Tyson Fury who'd be running all over the place, that could potentially make him look, a little bit slow, lumbering, and a bit off the mark. But it's unlikely that they would throw a Kownacki in with Tyson Fury if he signed with ESPN anytime soon, because they will want to maximize, him if they sign him to a deal, as opposed to burning him off in one fight, because that wouldn't make any sense. But I could see him going to an ESPN, but I could see him staying put. And obviously, if he ends up going over to Matchroom and to DAZN, he would be joining his best friend, Jarrell Miller, and he might get really well paid for the privilege. And that could be a situation if he joins that tent and Anthony Joshua continues to campaign in the United States. Well, he could be Johnny on the spot for a voluntary at some point. So there could be a shorter path to a title, potentially going the DAZN and Matchroom USA route. There's no guarantees with anything, like this, because it's boxing and nothing really is set in stone. It's like shifting sands pretty much 100% of the time. But we can say Adam Kownacki has options, and most of them are probably going to be relatively lucrative. And for a guy who's just coming into the sort of real earning peak of his career, this is a great time for him. And, I don't begrudge him if he moves around anywhere, because he's got to take care of himself and his family. He's got a baby on the way, and he will be looking at some of this going, what am I going to do here? Because remember, one loss at the top level, and you could be rebuilding for a couple of years and you can be sort of nowhere near earning the paydays that you were once getting. So he's going to have to plot and plan carefully, and expect him to do so. What do you make of it all? Drop a comment, loud and often. Hit like, hit subscribe, follow me on Twitter, boxing_squared. I'm out.